Hey there YouTube, what's up? It is Matt Carl. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make a book like this one here, completely from scratch. So, let's get started.
So the first thing you'll want to do is grab 8 sheets of regular size printer paper, stack them together, and then fold it in half to make a booklet. This makes 16 sheets or 32 pages. I then do this 3 more times to make a total of 4 booklets and 128 pages, but you can add however many booklets you want to increase or decrease the amount of pages you want in your final book. I then stack the booklets together and sandwich them between a book and cutting board to clamp them together. After that's clamped, I then make some marks about 1 inch space from each other and about 1/8 of an inch from the side of the book. I then take a Dremel with a small drill bit installed and drill out holes at those marks. I'm going to be using these holes to bind the books together with a needle and thread. So I take some thread and then I measure about 10 times the height of the book. You usually want to just do this pretty liberally since you'll need a pretty good amount of thread. I then thread it through a needle and then thread it through the first hole of the book. I'm going to first wrap it around and make a knot here and then work my way up the book by weaving in and out of the holes I just drilled. And when I come back down, I'll wrap the thread around each of the holes and tighten it so that the booklets are being held closer together. Finally, to finish it off, I'll wrap it around the first hole a couple times and then cut the thread and feed it back under the wrapping and tie a couple knots to secure everything together. I then make some measurements of the book, leaving 1/8 of an inch on each side to make the dimensions of the spine and front and back covers. Feel free to use these measurements if you're making the same size book. If not, you'll just leave 1/8 of an inch on all the sides for whatever dimensions you want. And then cut these out of hardboard, which is the same material as clipboard. And then I line everything up together and use a couple pieces of tape to temporarily attach the 3 of these pieces together. Next is to obtain the material for covering the book. I'm using leather from a jacket I bought at the thrift store for a couple dollars. So I made an outline of the book with about 1.5 inches spacing on all sides, then cut out some scissors. I then prepared the covers for gluing by sanding them, and then applied some wood glue fairly liberally to the back side. Then I glue it to the leather and add some weight and let it sit overnight. Once it's dry, I then use some hot glue to secure the edges of the leather to the inside covers of the book. Notice how I skip gluing the spine and glue the covers at 45-degree angles. I then cleaned up the edges by cutting off the excess leather so that it sits flush, and then cut out a slot in the leather for the book to be glued to the spine without interfering with the leather. I then glued a piece of paracord shell to the back of the book to be used as a bookmark. This is fairly optional. I then glued the book to the spine with a liberal amount of hot glue to ensure a good connection. And then the last step is to use a fresh piece of printer paper and glue it to the inside cover to clean everything up. This is called a fly leaf. I do this to both the front and the back side of the covers to clean everything up.
And that about wraps it up. You have a book made completely from scratch. You can play around with different sizes for bigger or smaller books, or try out different materials. Instead of leather, you could try paper or canvas or a recyclable t-shirt. There are tons of ways you could make this your own. I've also bounded a couple paperback books and made them into hardcover. So feel free to send me some of your guys' creations via Twitter at Matt Carl. But thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And be sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of these how-to videos. See you next time. Thanks.